Alright everyone, welcome back. As you should all know, recently Logan Paul hasn't had the best track record. He's been caught scamming a lot of his fans, the very people that made him famous through various crypto and NFT projects. He said that he would refund all the people that lost money and still to this day hasn't done so. He's been making fun of his best friend on his podcast Impulsive for his religious beliefs, and even before that just treating him like shit. But what I want to focus on today is the relationship that he has with his brother Jake. Now ever since 2016 when these guys popped up on YouTube, I think the popular opinion and the opinion that I've always held is that Logan Paul is the more mature of the two brothers, and that Logan is much more respectable than Jake. Jake has always seemed like an egotistical kid that no one really likes and always manages to piss people off for no reason. However, as we should all know, that changed in 2018 when Logan Paul went into the suicide forest in Japan and filmed someone who had taken their own life. Obviously after that, right, for a couple of years, people then decided that Jake Paul was actually the one who was the more mature brother. Keep in mind that during this debate, we are talking about the Paul brothers here. At that point in time, none of them were actually mature, but I mean, the point was that Logan Paul was at least better than Jake, but then was quickly overtaken after the Japan incident, obviously. However, after this horrible mistake from Logan Paul, he had probably one of the biggest redemption arcs known to man when he had his two boxing fights with KSI. And then by about 2020, after he had a draw and eventually lost to KSI, everyone started to gain respect for Logan again, including myself. Pretty much Logan had been on a journey to redeem his character and decided to start running a podcast called Impulsive, which honestly, when it started, I really used to enjoy listening to. I liked listening to Logan, Mike, and George talk to guests about random stuff because at this point Logan was actually beginning to be bearable to listen to. Like, I could sit and watch a Logan Paul podcast and watch it pretty much for 2 hours and actually get something out of it. I wasn't constantly bombarded with, hey yo, what's up Low gang, blah 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 blah, I'm here with Jake and you know, blah blah blah. It was actually like I was listening to a normal human being, and like I was actually listening to someone who was warm-blooded. However, as the title of this video suggests, that has now been kind of flipped on its head again. I don't really need to explain the whole crypto zoo situation that happened earlier in this year because I already made a video previously on it and you should all really know what happened. But essentially that situation ruined Logan Paul's reputation again, and people started to truly see Logan Paul for what he was, which is just a scummy arsehole that would do anything to get money out of his fans. This on its own is not why I'm making this video though. The real reason is his relationship now with Jake Paul. I don't think over the last couple of years Jake Paul has redeemed himself in any way, but I honestly don't think he needs to or wants to. Pretty much Jake Paul has been on a massive spree of fighting people in boxing, and I honestly think that alone has pretty much confirmed his character as this kid who's just like this arrogant kid going around challenging everyone to boxing matches and disrespecting them if they get in his way. Which, to be totally honest with you, I actually kind of like. I like that he gives this no cares given attitude where you just go around running your mouth, especially if you can back it up, which is clearly what Jake has done. He's a kid that works his ass off and is reaping the rewards of working his ass off. However, the way Logan Paul has dealt with this kind of thing makes me realize what type of guy he is. For starters, when Logan Paul has Jake on one of his podcasts and Jake was talking about wanting to be the world champion in boxing, this is what Logan Paul had to say about it.
Yeah, I want to be the light heavyweight champion of the world, and I will become the light heavyweight champion of the world. Can I just speak on that point quickly? I'm just going to address the elephant in the room that you can't even see yet. Can I say who was here filming this week?
I don't think we can say, actually.
Right? No. Some very important, special subscription platform was filming this week here, and they interviewed me. And I know that you have said that before, and that's what you want to do. And I told them, I think that's crazy. And I also told them that this is going to motivate him, right? And I'll always believe in Jake and have your back. But that one in particular, you being the world champ in boxing, is really hard for me to wrap my head around.
I mean, obviously Jake Paul getting the world championship in boxing would be an extremely hard thing for him to do, and not something that I think anyone would realistically put money on. But Logan, if your brother comes up to you and starts talking to you about how he wants to follow his passions of boxing and make it to be a world champion one day, whether you actually think he can do it or not isn't really that important. That's your brother who has just come to you with a plan of ambition. The least you can do is offer your words of encouragement. I would absolutely never treat my brother like that. If my brother came to me one day and said the same thing to me, even though he's never been in boxing in his life, even though there's a very small chance of him being a world champion, I'd tell him to go for it and that I've got his back, because that's what brothers do, Logan. You don't sit there and go, well, yeah, I don't know about that one. You know, that's a hard thing to do. Imagine if Jake Paul got super close to being a world champion in a few years or so, but fell short at the last fight or like a couple of fights beforehand. Imagine if you, in that interview that you did in 2023 with him, that instead of not believing in him, you say something like, yeah, I believe in you, or yeah, I think you can do it. That little bit of extra support from his older brother might have actually helped him out. Now, obviously, I don't know how Logan acts outside of the podcast, and maybe he has offered his support to Jake elsewhere, but from what I can see from an internet perspective, he's just being a douchebag for the sake of being a douchebag. Now, another case, and probably the worst case I have for Logan Paul, is this entire KSI situation. KSI, ever since 2017, has been Logan Paul's arch nemesis. I think that's pretty obvious. Obviously, I mentioned before that KSI beat Logan Paul, and Jake Paul has gone on multiple podcasts and said that after this fight, Logan Paul went to Jake Paul and asked him to beat KSI for him. Sort of like asking Jake Paul to avenge Logan after he lost to KSI. And obviously, as a younger brother, that's a huge thing for him, right? And if I was in that situation as the younger brother, I would be kind of stressed about that. And again, if this was my situation where my younger brother essentially wanted me to avenge him, I'd want to take that pretty seriously. What I wouldn't fucking do though is what Logan Paul has done and create a drink company with him. I mean, I get it that from a financial perspective that it makes sense for them to come together and make a drink company, but goddamn Logan, do you have no self-awareness whatsoever? This guy KSI has been shit-talking your brother for over 6 years and continues to do so. I know it's taken me a while to realize this, but do you guys understand how fucking weird it is that Logan Paul is essentially best friends with the one guy that his younger brother hates the most and is hated by? I mean, personally, if my brother had beef with someone from another city, another country, or whatever, or even in the local community, I would also have beef with that person simply because my brother does. I wouldn't become friends with them, that's just weird. Even if there was a financial incentive, like a company or a brand or something like that. And the worst part is that it wasn't even KSI's idea to make Prime. Logan came to him with the idea. But anyway, that by far isn't even the worst part. While Logan Paul and KSI were touring around the world bringing Prime to different countries, all the British countries like England and Australia literally were in the crowd screaming fuck Jake Paul. Now obviously KSI is going to go along with that, right? Which again, why the fuck are you hanging out with a guy that's screaming fuck Jake Paul who is literally your younger brother? This isn't a dig at KSI, by the way. I have no problems with how KSI is handling this situation. He's allowed to hate Jake Paul. I mean, Jake Paul doesn't like him, so I mean, I'm not surprised. He's allowed to not like Jake Paul. But the fact that Logan Paul is sitting there as his best friend makes no sense to me. And also the worst part is that when these crowds were screaming fuck Jake Paul, Logan Paul is going along with it. He starts chanting it with them. If that doesn't signal a shitty older brother, then I honestly don't know what does. Now, after all this Prime stuff started happening and Logan Paul became best friends with KSI apparently, recently Jake Paul went onto Aiden Ross's stream and started talking to Andrew Tate. And this clip of him talking about Logan is honestly just kind of sad.
KSI's running his mouth to you. I'm like, why is Logan not punching him in the face? Well,
I personally don't like it because it's like, here's this guy that constantly is dragging me down, constantly jumping at every opportunity to pull me down and to defame me and to say anything bad about me. And then my brother's like acting like he's best friends with them. They asked Logan like, oh, who would you pick in the fight? And Logan's like, oh, I don't know. That would be tough for me. Like, no, it's really not. Like,
wait. So when you ask,
he eventually says like, well, I would have to pick Jake, but he plays both sides definitely, and he, you know, created this multi-billion-dollar company now with his enemy, and I can't hate on that. I want my brother to accomplish his goals, and I'm happy for him, and he's so successful and doing amazing, and to me, I'm just proud of him. I'm proud to be related to him. I'm happy for him, but definitely it hurts me sometimes seeing that shit for sure.
Now, obviously, a lot of this stuff is for entertainment, right? And Jake Paul has jokingly gotten annoyed at Logan Paul for making Prime and supporting KSI when Jake hates him and KSI hates Jake. However, deep down, as a brother myself, I really wouldn't be surprised if all this stuff really, like, genuinely hurts Jake. Especially as a younger brother who is supposed to be looking up to Logan. All I really want you guys to take away from this video is that Logan Paul is just someone that you wouldn't want as an older brother, because it's clear where his priorities are. He'd rather take care of his work and his bank account than his own relationship with his brother. And if this was me in this situation who is doing this to my younger brother, I would honestly feel a lot of shame for doing so. Anyway, comment down below what you think about this whole situation. Click the video on screen right now because YouTube thinks you'll enjoy this video, and yeah, I'll see you all over there. Subscribe.